So today, I'm really excited about what I'm going to talk about today. I've been wanting to talk about this for quite some time, and now's the time. Now is the time, because this is the foundation for effective parenting in 2024. I really believe that. And we know that. And I think about when my kids were small. If I had known what I'm going to share today, it would have made a huge difference. And as it has done for so many parents that I've worked with and taught them this paradigm shift, as I call it, because it really does make it more rewarding. So I'm so happy that I'm sharing it with you today. And it's because parenting, this is the truth, okay? Parenting is all learned. No one is born a parent. And who do we learn first about parenting from? Well, of course, we learn from our own parents, and they learn from their parents. And we call this the traditional North American model, because in lots of other countries they don't parent this way. But this has been handed down for generations, really. But it's time to make a change, because really what we learn from our parents is outdated, at least as outdated as a typewriter, but more like a horse and buggy, as outdated as that. So let's just reflect on what we learned from our parents, okay? So what we learned is, and some people call it behaviorism. What our parents learned and what they learned, what their parents knew and passed on, and then we got this now for in terms of that first thing we have learned about parenting, which is causing us a lot of trouble now. Let's just say that. Okay, so this is how it goes. So the role of parents is what the traditional North American model says. The role of parents is to control your child's behavior. Okay, so by whatever means, your job is to make your kids obedient and respectful, and our children are supposed to respect authority figures who treat them really badly. They're still supposed to respect them, and and really be obedient. Even teachers still today are calling some of my parents and saying, your child hasn't behaved well in the school today, and the unspoken question is, what are you going to do about it? And I really have a lot of trouble with that. I mean, how can parents do anything about how their children behave at school when the parents aren't even there? All they know is what the teacher tells them. And so, anyway, that'll be another video. Anyway, getting back to this one. Okay, so the idea. So how do we get our children rather? What did we learn about this? How do we get our parents, our children? Blah, I've done too many videos today, I guess. Too much teaching. Anyway, so this is how we do it. How we control our children's behavior is by rewards and punishment. So we reward compliant behavior and we punish non-compliant behavior. And a lot of us have been shamed this way, right? Because in this model, you even punish children for making mistakes, as if they are a mistake. And, this is how children learn, really. If children can't make mistakes, they can't learn. I often say, can you ride a two-wheel bike? Could you ride a two-wheel bike if you were never allowed to fall? How we learn when we're riding a bike is we fall down, we pick ourselves up, we correct, we fall down, we pick ourselves up, and we correct. That's how children learn. They learn by making mistakes. And I remember I was walking down the street, and one of my neighbors was gardening, okay, in the front. And he was with his 2-year-old son, and his 2-year-old son had little, gardening tools for children, right? And I don't know what this child did, but all of a sudden I heard the dad yell, "What is wrong with you?" And the little boy was just crying. And if I had to do it, I was in a bit of a rush, but if I had to do it over again, I would have totally gone over to that dad and said, is there anything I can do to help you? Because there's nothing that a 2-year-old could do that would deserve to be treated like that. And there's nothing wrong with him. He's just learning. So he probably just made a mistake, and it's just a matter of helping him correct. And, maybe substituting another tool that he could handle more easily, something like that. But that's so shaming to be told something like that, and I can remember feeling that shame. And, it's no accident that one of my favorite books is a New York bestseller, and it was by John Bradshaw, and who I had the honor of working with. And his best-selling book, one of them was called, the first one was family. It was on the family, but the second one was called Healing the Shame That Binds You. And I had a lot of shame that I had to recover from growing up in my home. I mean, for those of us like myself who grew up in an alcoholic home, our parents could take punishment to a whole new level, because they were often driven by feelings, and the alcohol numbed any sense of conscience, numbed their conscience. So, we suffered. And, most of us are in recovery. Hopefully, I have been in recovery. I have been in recovery my whole adult life from my childhood. I've been recovering from my childhood. And that's why I love doing what I do. And that's why I started learning early, because I remember as a child saying to myself, especially after I had been shamed for making a mistake, I'd say to myself, there has to be a better way to treat children than this. I remember when I was 10 years old saying this. And there is a better way. Okay. So anyway, what's the problem with, there's lots of problems and lots of costs, which I'll get into in future videos around punishing children for behavior, and just trying to control their behavior. And let me just share this diagram here for a minute. Okay, so here we are. We're thinking, feeling, behaving people. Okay, and the way that our parents learned to parent and passed on to us is that, feelings are not important. All you do is deal with the child's behavior. And in fact, everything having to do with children is about teaching them how to think, well, what to think, not how really, what to think, what to do, how to behave well. And, it's all that. And all the feelings are just left out. Feelings are just left out. And yet feelings are such an important part of us. I mean, the day you're not feeling something is the day you're pushing up daisies, and feelings have no morality. But, it keeps you alive. It tells you you're alive. It motivates us to do things or not do things. If you love your parent and you feel really connected, you really want to do what they want you to do. But if you're afraid of them, you're not really learning how to behave well. You're just learning how to behave so that you don't get hurt, right? So that's the big problem, that it only deals with behavior and not with feelings. And, science tells us that, as parents, we have to raise our children to be, emotionally intelligent, and how our children need to learn how to manage and regulate their own feelings. And, and we need to teach them about building relationships and all kinds of things like that. However, of course, our parents did not, they couldn't have dreamt of having the information that is available to us today. And so, we need to know that they did the best that they could with what they knew. But I'm here to tell you a new way. And so this is where what I'm suggesting. I'm really encouraging you and welcoming you to make a big paradigm shift. And before I go on, let me share what paradigm means for those of you who may not know. So paradigm comes from the Greek word. It means your frame of reference or the model that you follow, okay? So this is about changing our frame of reference about ourselves as parents and as of our children. And it's about changing the model, okay? So let's just go here next. Okay, so I call the traditional North American method, I call it the compliance model, okay? It's, we have to comply. If we didn't comply, we would get hurt. We would get punished, right? And what is punishment? Punishment is not discipline. Punishment is instilling fear in a child to make them do what you want, okay? So, I'm preparing a free handout that I'll be, promoting, and I'll be putting in my videos. I'll add it to this one as soon as I get it finished. It's not finished yet, on the difference between discipline and punishment, because discipline is much more elegant and much more freeing, and it's about guiding and teaching our children. It comes from the word disciple, which means to guide and to teach. It's not about hurting our kids, and it is about this is not permissive parenting, just so you know. It's not permissive parenting, because in this model we learn how to set limits in a supportive way. We want to move from the compliance model to, which is based on intimidation, right? We want to move from that model to the alliance model or the relationship model. And, that's all about connection. Okay, so it's a very different frame of reference. It's a different map altogether. And that's why there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to unlearn, because the old paradigm, the compliance model, it is hardwired in our brain, because we've witnessed it since we were little, and our brain is developed by our life experience. And so that compliance model it's a challenge for us. It will be. But gradually we build new habits, because we get new information, and we learn how to connect with our children, even when we have to set limits. And we can still stay connected. And we learn how to validate their feelings, which are so, so important, right? Because the other thing we're teaching them, our children, because children learn by our behavior more than anything else, okay? And they copy our behavior. So when we are punishing children, we are teaching them how to treat those we perceive as weaker than us. So changing this model is so powerful, because someday, folks, we need to keep the end in mind. Someday it will be you and I who are weak and feeble and who need the support of those who have more power than us. So keep that end in mind, because these are the kids who will be choosing your nursing home. This is such an important model and such a great way to parent. Like, it's rewarding. So many times I get calls I just got a call the other day from a woman, and she said, I just need to see you, because my 3-year-old has temper tantrums in public, like really severe temper tantrums, and there's nothing I can do. I've tried everything. I see people looking at him and looking at me like, what kind of a parent are you? And she said, like, I yell at him. I try to grab him and lift him into the car. A lot of times it's in a parking lot when we're about to get into the car. And all right, I tell him, I'm going to take away his toy. I take away his toys there, and then I tell him I'm going to put him in his room when he gets home. I've even hit him in desperation and just such intense frustration. I've even hit my child. Nothing is working. And why is that? It's because she's following the traditional North American model for parenting. But it doesn't work. It's as outdated as the typewriter, as I say, or as a horse and buggy. Listen, folks, you are raising the first generation of children born into the digital age. This is a new age. And, using old tools to help your parenting, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But if you develop this relationship model, your child wants to cooperate more, but, because our feelings weren't addressed, just as an example, like lots of times we can't stay calm. We lose it. In fact, I'm in the process, a few things on the table that I'm working on. And one of them is a mini course on how to stop yelling, because we didn't learn that as children, but we can teach our children how to calm down. And so, that's what we're going to talk about in this mini course. And your children will model you. Listen, folks. Children do not always do what we tell them to do, but they do what we do. As the mother of grown children, I can tell you that. I know that for a fact. So we're going to talk more about this in future videos. And so I hope you'll join us then. And for those of you who haven't subscribed, if you subscribe, you'll find out when the next video comes out. So until then, be good to yourselves and be good to your children. Bye now. I just realized that I left everything from my little pad here. I left it on while I was talking to you at the end. So I want to say, I wasn't gone. I was right here. I just forgot to change the back to the camera. So I want to say I'm so glad you came, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.